All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. Four reviews up this week. Um, the first of which is The Cub, from the creators of Golf Club Nostalgia. Um, that's Club with an L. Just want to be clear about that. Anyway, and High Water return to their whimsical neon lit apocalypse. Weird way to describe an apocalypse. Um, in a Jungle Book meets the Armageddon fusion. Parkour through the remains of humanity as a child being hunted, while catchy end of days tunes and curious survivor stories play on the radio. Like,
End of
so
Days tunes?
I'm like, I'm going to explain that a bit. So it's the end it it's actually a post-apocalyptic um tale, kind of, because it's the earth has been destroyed and civilization's been torn asunder. You know the drill there. But the thing is, humanity had an escape plan, sending rockets to Mars and terraforming that, or something along those lines. No, not terraforming. They set up a colony there. um, so humanity's there, and they're back exploring the ruins of humanity. Like, but the thing is, not that much time has passed. Like, honestly, it's one of the more interesting things about this story, because it's only been like 10, 15 years. It hasn't even been a generation since the apocalypse happened. So that's what's being broadcasted on the radio a lot. You've got people who talk about the before times, the times of the apocalypse, you know what life is like on Mars compared to Earth, etc., etc., etc. It's a bit convoluted out of context, but it makes sense in context. Um, so with that in mind, the Cub here is a native, question mark, um, who was presumably abandoned by the fleeing humans because extinction level events happening. He may be a mutant. It's kind of unknown, but the
Hmm.
thing is, he can breathe the and survive in the environment, whereas the humans who left and came back, they have to wear suits, or else they'll die
Yeah.
slowly, as it turns out. You know, um, as it turns out, the atmosphere, it's not going to immediately suffocate them, but it's more like a slow poison.
Hmm.
Like, um, and the conceit of this game is pretty simple. You are also exploring the ruins of civilization because, well, that's what ruins are. There's a lot of them, and the cub finds it interesting. Uh, you know, Notably called Alphaville. I see your French New Wave there. Like, um, anyway, so bit of an unusual kind of game to put this in, because okay, so it mentioned the Jungle Book, as in the actual story. You can definitely see the outer outlines of the basic framework in the Cub. I'm like, going on there, but it's kind of like more of an strong influence than anything directly based off of the Jungle Book. Like it's also kind of referring it's more referring to the Jungle Book game. Apparently the devs took a lot of influence from the Disney platformers of the 16-bit age. Jungle Book, The Lion King, Aladdin, etc., etc. Like, uh, but also curiously describes it as a cinematic platformer. So no, um, this has come up on the show before. But a cinematic platformer is a very specific type of platformer, and this isn't it. Like cinematic platformers are kind of defined by their movement. You know, very stiff, very elaborate. Um, Something honing in on realism. Prince of Persia, Oddworld, Flashback, uh, Out of This World, except so on and so forth. There, this is what we would call an action platform. Um, very much so an action platformer because um, you do a lot of jumping. I do want to clarify that as well. It's not just like a side view game where it's got the minimum amount of jumping and the jump is very weak or something like that. No, you jump a lot and you jump rather well. In fact, jumping is kind of the main obstacle course outside of avoiding enemies. Because in a differing trajectory from a lot of actual 16-bit action platformers, there's no kind of combat. Like there's no way to defend yourself in this product. It's like you can't jump on anyone's head. You don't have any weapons. You don't toss like boomerangs or bananas or insert projectile here. It's like you are literally defenseless outside of running and jumping. And that is what you're going to be doing throughout this game. Also flying, but that's a bit later on in the game. Um, and also opposite to the cinematic platformer, the movement is very fluid and crisp, and and very good feeling. I'm not sure how else to frame that, but yeah, it's like the character isn't suffering from arthritis or Belmont syndrome. It's like you can adjust your jumps here. There's no committing to the arc.
That's always convenient.
Hmm. And honestly, that's about it mechanically. Outside of there's a lot of collectibles and a lot of set pieces, and that's really where this game put its effort. Like it's not so much about the mechanics themselves; it's what you're doing in the said mechanics. You can even see it in the trailer footage here. You know, and this is once again, this is something that harkens back to a lot of 16-bit platformers. Like we're outrunning animals. Oh God, that is such a quintessential 16-bit platformer set piece.
Animal, waves of lava, the standard affair.
Yeah, I'm like, and you get quite a bit of that there, um, in different forms. If it's not, something natural, it's dealing with the humans that are hunting you. And it does make for some nice flowing set pieces when everything works. Look, I'm like, uh, this game is not above the cliches because, uh, you know, probably the most frustrating part I came across was the minecart section. Once again, we're drawing upon 16-bit platformers. Of course, there's a fucking a minecart section. Um,
Why
It's
would
just
you ever have a game and not include minecarts?
if you're going about like if you're drawing upon the 8-bit platformers, you're not going to get a lot of mine carts. That is much more of a 16-bit, especially post Donkey Kong Country, platforming cliche.
Fair enough. It's mostly a convenient way to do auto scrollers.
Right, right, and like the issue there was there was a bit of a dodgy game design there. In you had to jump from the cart to a plat bunch of pair of platforms that crumbled. Like I said, this game, it's not reinventing any wheels in terms of like actual platforming mechanics, design, etc., etc., etc. Like if you played a 16-bit platformer um, with good design, you probably played this. I will say we were thankfully spared the obnoxious, sprawling Euro platformer design that a lot of 90s platformers had. Ugh. But that's a rant for a different review. Anyway, so it's all about the execution here. Um, and it works mostly well. Like mechanics could have been tightened up a bit. Level design could have been better. I think the biggest sin this game commits is not having the collectibles auto save. I don't know how that fucking happens in this day and age, uh, but no, this was bad. Like this is a thing that we got solved a long time ago. Because here's the thing: having to go through a section again and again and again, collecting all the collectibles, and then going to the part I'm having trouble with, that's not good game design. That is just fucking tedious. And I
Reason
shouldn't
why
have to.
reason why most platformers that are really challenging nowadays either have really short levels or have really convenient respawn points.
Yeah. Or, if you collect an item in between save points, the items are saved. Either
That
you're,
too.
like I said, this is just like literally a problem that shouldn't exist in this day and age, and I could not ignore it
It's been a solved
because
problem for what, 30 years?
Admittedly, some like major release games still do stuff like this too to make some kind of weird point or whatever. But
it's not even making a point. It's just busy work in this game. I
Mm.
know because I went through the same thing collecting the things, and there's no like. And here's the thing: there's no real challenge in collecting the collectibles. They're not located in hard to reach places. Um, they don't provide the extra bonus ending. They're it's the flavor text kind of collectibles. You collect them to learn more about the world.
Mm.
So the worst is they may be in like a bit out of the way places, but they're not exceedingly hard to get. So that just means I was going through a section to get all these things and then get to the actual action set piece, died, and I had to do it again. That's literally busy work. That shouldn't have happened, and I have to dent the game for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you might think it's a minor problem, but it's like it's when you're doing the same thing over and over again, and it's not the challenge part. There's a reason why so many games autosave this shit nowadays because the challenge has been conquered at the most. Here, it's just extra additional stuff. You know, but to say that this is the worst problem that the game has kind of indicates of how good the overall package is. Like honestly, this is one of the better games I've played this year. Um, And it's not a long affair either. Like it's going to last you like anywhere from 3 to 6 hours. I've seen the shorter side, speed running side is about 3 hours there. Like, so it'll keep you occupied, but not for too long. Which is it's the right amount of length for a game of this type because it's not an exploration platformer. It's not a Metroidvania. Once again, it's not a cinematic platformer. Um, where the emphasis is on puzzles. Once again, going to like Oddworld or Flashback. Um, it's an action platformer, and it's best if that is kept a certain amount of time because those can very much outstay their welcome. It's why I'm not a big fan of once again the sprawling platformers that populated um, 90s computers because those had the tendency to be way too big, way too long, way too everything. Anyway, a final note is the music. See, to go along with the radio, which is called radio nostalgia, it's a bit weird because the nostalgia tunes that they're playing aren't really nostalgic tunes.
Not like
Like
Fallout
the
where they're pulling out either straight up old tracks or styled like old tracks.
yeah, I'm like it's nostalgic in context. Out of
Mhm.
context, it sounds very modern, though very fitting with the overall aesthetics of the game.
Is it mentioned about like what year this takes place, or is that just left ambiguous?
It takes place in the year XTX.
Mm.
I'm like, but it's very lo-fi beats,
Hmm.
very vapor core, and all of that stuff. Once again, kind of the polar opposite of what you would expect from a typical 16-bit uh, action platformer. Like, you'd expect casual tunes for the lighter platforming stage, but when you get to the action set pieces, you get the drum heavy action beats. You don't get that here.
Mm.
Um, Also worth noting, the radio is an actual radio because the kit here has a helmet that's tuned into the actual radio station. So that means everything's diegetic. So if you go into a tunnel or someplace where the radio broadcast can't hear it, you won't hear music anymore, or
Hmm.
it'll be dimmer. So some really good audio design there. Anyway, so in terms of pricing, this game clocks in at a robust $14.99, with the soundtrack available at $3.99. Um, and there's a whole bunch of bundles that don't include the soundtrack for some reason. Oh.
Hmm.
Anyway, so the question being, is this game worth $15? I would say yes. I think it has the production values and the design chops to justify that price tag. Like, and getting the soundtrack for $4, honestly, a bit of a steal there. Like,
Mm.
it's it's kind of I was kind of expecting this to go for like $9 or something like that. Um, all in all, yeah, it's a really good game, and I think that's about it on the Cub here. So, any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I think I'm good.
All right, then. So that'll about do it for this game. Be sure to tune in after the break as Petty Fan will be reviewing Flip Tiles Warp Line.